looking at the schedule, what will be the toughest month of the season for the Cowboys? Because Sports Illustrated had put out an article, make or break months for 10 NFL teams. Cowboys weren't on there. So I was like, well, we can clearly do it ourselves. I know every NFL game is vitally important. And if you lose the game Sunday night against the Giants, it will probably feel like a catastrophe right out the gate, even though that's what Mike McCarthy always does. But do you look at the schedule and is there a particular month? Because I immediately looked at December. December, host the Eagles, at Buffalo, at Miami, host the Lions. Those are 4 potential playoff teams. And in the case of 2 of them, 2 betting-wise likely playoff teams. I realize the NFL has a whole lot of turnover and things can switch around really quickly, but host Philly, at Buffalo, at Miami, host Detroit. That is a brutal 4-game stretch.
So you think that's the make or break part of it?
I think they're going to be in a position, and I understand the logic of if anyone wants to say like September. I certainly get that because it feels like if you lose to Arizona, well, you might as well just cancel the season. But, or if you lose to both of the New York teams to start the season, that'll feel like a catastrophe. Just based on where I think this Cowboys team can go, and that's to do very well. I realize historically in the playoffs it doesn't continue, but I think they can do very, very well. And that's why I look at December as the make or break in terms of, did you do very well like you won 11 games or you won 12 games again and you're going to be the best wild card? Or did you do very well, you won your division?
I'm looking at, because I'm going to do what you asked me earlier regarding the Rangers' last game of the season, Kevin.
Right.
And I'm going to add October 29th to November.
Oh.
So I think that stretch from the Rams.
That's 6 games then. That's not fair.
Yeah, no, I'm taking 6 games.
Not fair.
So and let me discuss each game individually, giving Mike an opportunity to think over there.
Okay.
The Rams and the Cowboys, like I think that team's going to be miserable this year.
That's another one. If you lose, just quit.
And I'm kind of tired of losing to the Rams. So I really want to see something special out of that, hosting them for sure. But there you have the Cowboys and the Giants too at the first, that first opportunity. And I'm hoping you're coming off Cardinals, Patriots, Chargers. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking you should be 4-1 at this point. Or sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Corey, I'm laughing because multiple people have texted in and been like, yeah, see? The meat of the schedule.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
That would be December 30th and January 7th is the meat.
Meat of the schedule.
But I'm hoping at that point you're 6-1. If
you beat the Rams?
No, before you get to the Rams. Am I wrong about that?
You will only have played 6 games.
5-1 is what I meant there.
Interesting that you dropped the win and not the loss. I would have thought
well, then it's the Niners in there.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't drop. I just can't drop that. I have to see them beat the Niners and go, okay, I believe that they can do this consistently.
Quick question for both of y'all. Not to say that it's a lock or anything like that. Do you look at the games before the bye and think 5-1 is a feasible outcome?
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but my 6-game stretch, Kevin, the meat of the schedule here is I think you have to beat the Rams. If you lose to the Panthers, you got a problem. Like you really have a problem. That should be yet another game. Matt Stafford and your rookie quarterback in Bryce Young should be Micah Parsons' feast days. A, you got a statue back there with Matt Stafford. Yep. And B, I know he can move
because he won the Super Bowl there, and they're going to make a statue.
No, they're not going to make I don't know. They might. They make statues and banners for everything there. But with the Panthers, that's a rookie quarterback who doesn't have a lot of great things around him, and I think that should be a great day. But then again, that's in that month, 3 of your division opponents. So you get 3 division games. That's where I think you can really, if you were to lose to the Giants early, I think you can make up the rest of the division games in that little stretch right there. And then the real test, Kevin, of Geno Smith and putting it all together. Did he recover from having put it all together once?
I need to do a deeper dive. I feel like he recovered for 6 games and then went right back to what he was.
Yep. So my 6-game meat of the schedule month. You know what? I was going to take the Eagles game there, Kevin, but in December to start. But
that's on December 10th. You can't claim that.
I felt like that was too much.
I'm taking January as the biggest month.
I like it
because that's when you're in the playoffs.
You have one game in January.
Yeah. That's a freebie.
Oh, the playoff games.
Yeah.
Those are that's the make or break. You're out if you lose one.
Those are the do or die games, except for one.
If you lose them, you're out. If you win them, you won the Super Bowl.
Sure.
You're in the Super Bowl.
Not until Friday. February.
That's why I said you're in. You're in the Super Bowl.
From the 2-1-4, the toughest month for the Cowboys will in fact be January. But I know we're kind of having some fun, but you view this as a playoff team.
I do. I think not that 10 is the floor, but as long as they stay pretty healthy, I think they're going to figure out a way to win 10 games. I do think they can win 13. I think it's really tough to put 14 wins on the board, but I think somewhere between 10 and 13 wins. I'm worried now about the start of the year because of Tyler Smith.
Yep.
And because what we saw from the backup offensive lineman at practice / the practice games is the first 2 games can be very challenging games. If you can get out of those 2 games 2-0, you do get a practice game the 3rd week of the year. So that's great. You get a free win the 3rd week of the year. So even if you were 1-1 against the New Yorks, you should be 2-1, and then you get a home game against New England, which you'll be favored.
Is that great?
Right. Yeah. You should be favored by 6 to 8 points, somewhere in there. And that at San Francisco, at Los Angeles are very tough. So I look at that being a very tough stretch. I know I'm not breaking down the months here, but I think that's a very tough stretch. And then I agree with you in December is a very tough stretch.
Okay, I want to ask you a question about something then. I tell you before the bye, you go 5-1. This might seem like a real no-brainer for a lot of folks, but I'm just curious. Would you rather that one be to the Giants or the 49ers? I realize the 49ers are not in your division, but it definitely feels...
Giant. No,
I'd rather lose to the Giants. If you're asking me if I go to San Francisco and beat San Francisco on October 8th, I think that would be a big mental hurdle for them if they had to play San Francisco again in the playoffs. If for some reason they lost at New York to start the year, I don't think that means New York's going to go on and win the division, especially if from that point you ran off 5 in a row.
I'm with you. I agree, but I can see how a lot of people will disagree. There's like a divisional game. You got to win the divisional games. I understand.
Yeah, and that's part of me that wants to say that first. But the Cowboys have recovered at least 2 years in a row now with Mike McCarthy after losing the first game of the season. So like and I know it's a divisional opponent. I think it's a must. It's like not a must win. It's a very important win to your entire season. But so far, the Cowboys have lost their season openers with Mike McCarthy and turned out pretty decent. I think Mike has a really good point of beating the Niners on the road and clearing a mental hurdle maybe for them, but the mental hurdle still is the playoffs. Like it's like the Rangers with the Yankees, right? Like the Rangers, once they finally beat the Yankees, is like, all right, we could win the whole damn thing. And so like that's where I think it's a good thing to say, okay, we measured ourselves just a little bit. So you asked the question, I'll say the Niners too, just because that's a feather in the cap.
No, because I think you're onto something. I do wonder about like the mental edge that gives you compared to where you are now. If you're like, well, at least we know we can beat them. Yeah. And then you find out if you can beat them on a bigger stage. And
you might even have like, let's say you beat them with points. And then you look back and you go, Mike McCarthy knows how to.
Like you really put it on their defense.
Yeah, and Mike McCarthy is like, guys, I know how to call a game. And the team starts believing that like they can be that kind of offensive juggernaut as well as their defense.
From the 806, I agree with Corey. Stack up the wins, then that'll give you some padding.
Smart decision.
For the grueling December. And Mike,
like the Rangers.
This is okay, well, in this scenario, then we'll start 7-1.
Rangers don't play in December,
7-10.
True.
8-9.
Okay.
And they never will.
Philadelphia starts off with at New England, home against Minnesota, at Tampa, and home against Washington.
I think that's 4-0. That sounds like 4-0 to me.
So I think that you could argue you really need to get off to a good start because the other, I do want them. I do love where the Rangers put themselves at a 40-20 record. And then it's like, dude, if you just play 500 the rest of the way, you have a great chance. You'd automatically make the playoffs. Unfortunately, that's not happening. But I do look at your main rival, Philadelphia. They do not have a tough schedule to start off. So there's a good chance that they are 5-1 after 6 weeks. Because after that, they're at the Rams. We call that an automatic win for the Cowboys. That's probably automatic.
Tampa's going to be horrible.
Right. And then their schedule does get tougher once you get into mid-late October. So their schedule gets tougher then. So I do think it's very important the month of September the Cowboys find themselves 3-1 or 4-0 because your rival will probably be 3-1 or 4-0.
And then, Mike, I feel like this is partially for you, but it's for all of us from the 806. Ryan Clark of ESPN picked the Cowboys to beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl, and Trevor Lawrence wins the MVP.
I'll take it.
Well, it says, how does Mike feel about that?
So.
Especially the T-Law situation.
That makes me sad.
That's the thing you would like more.
Yeah.
Not the week that we're at Super Bowl in Las Vegas, Mike. You had predicted the Cowboys be there, so you're getting all this love.
Once again, I'm teasing at 12:45 my therapy and why it's better for me to not care about the Cowboys.
Oh, interesting.
Man.
Interesting tease right there. I did not know that.
I do
like your chunk of the season though, Kevin, but that 2-game chunk is what I like the most. And the Lions I'm not so concerned about. Look, dude.
Because you already think they'll clinch their division by then?
Yeah,
I got what you're saying.
We got them in 91 or 92.
What? We
so
got hammered by them in 91.
But then what happened after that? Did they win a Super Bowl?
Nope.
So, yeah, we got our payback.
Hold on, but you can't.
But the Bills, going to the Bills in December when it's going to be an unseasonably cold winter this year, dude, do you know what that stadium could look like? It could be a paper plate.
Let me ask you something.
Lots of snow. That's what I'm saying.
If the United States and Britain went to war, do you think it would be automatic that we would win because we already beat them twice all those years ago? Or would you be like, let's see what's happening now?
They quit warring at that point. They were like, let's just focus on the tea and the cucumber sandwich.
They said, you guys deal with it. Then we went civil.
To the queen. You know, that's what they said.
Yes. No, I understood.
Then the Dolphins, like you go from the snowy place in Buffalo and then you go down to Miami and play the Dolphins. I like your two chunk. That's what I'm looking forward to the most this season is that part of the schedule.